Welcome to Brew Drink Run TV. My name is Lee.
This is Keith.
And we're joined once again with Kevin Ryan from R&D Brewing. Kevin, there's a big change here since last time we were in this space.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about what's happened here since we were here last.
Well, since last time you were here, I think we just really finally stopped creating dust. Everything that had needed to be done was either painted or cut out or sealed or what have you. So I was finally able to empty my extra bedroom at the house and bring everything down here.
That's a big empty bedroom.
Yes.
Yeah. Congratulations on that.
No one was in that room. But moved down, I get two one-barrel systems, essentially 20-gallon, 27-gallon brewing systems that have been moved in here with fermenters, as you can see behind us. Got all the equipment to get those things moving. Have a little lab desk that I moved in here. Have an antique cooler door that I found on eBay that I've installed. It actually has my cousin's name on it, and it was made in the same state that I was born in. So
nice.
Had to get it, yeah. So yeah, we've brought in tables, have a little bar, so when people come and want to hang out or I have visitors, there's a place for them to sit. Moved into my office, have a desk. Challenge right now is just getting some internet connections, so I can actually connect to the outside world from here. It's tough to get a lot of desk work done when you're not connected to the internet these days. So yeah, that was it, and just been getting organized and brewed some beer this morning.
Yeah, and that was your first brew day in this space was today?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. What were your impressions? How did it go?
Well, you never know how the space is going to work until you work in it. So I'm learning a little bit about where the electrical connections need to be. Spray foam is great to keep the place insulated, but when you're generating a lot of heat brewing the beer, that heat also stays here. So
nice, yeah.
I'm going to need to work on the ventilation a little bit and the power connection. So I'm working with extension cords and some things like that, but going to need to really figure that kind of workspace out and how to move from space to space or spot to spot and hook up hoses or power cords.
A lot of the instruments that we see around us and some of the different implements of brewing are going to be very familiar to a lot of home brewers, but some things are definitely taken to that next level, which is really nice. How's that transition for you been as a home brewer to being able to use some nicer equipment in this space?
It's both scary and exciting. Yeah. So luckily I have a master brewer as a teacher and mentor who can help me understand the system. So he's been here, he's helped me set the systems up. He brewed the beer today, so I was able to watch him work the system. We also had to do quite a bit of troubleshooting. This is when the tippy structure behind us showed up. It wasn't ready for business. Some wires had been pulled out during shipment. Some parts were missing that we needed to run through. So it was quite a learning experience today. And Dan, my master brewer, has probably sweat off a good bit of boundaries today.
Well, I'm sure that's going to happen on numerous occasions in the future. And not only in addition to the physical changes we've seen here, there has been some legal changes, if you will, and just some ideas and some parameters of how you're working. Can you talk to us a little bit about maybe a new partnership you're going to be moving into soon?
Sure. Well, I think when we first met, I talked a little bit about a larger regional brewery, and that brewery was originally planned to be launched in Austin. I was going to be involved in that, but not as a major everyday, day-to-day business operations person. Since that time, we've shifted that launch from Austin, Texas to Savannah. Some people may have seen the paper last week. They talked about Coastal Paper Company building. Right. Service Brewing will be moving into that space. And so with that relocation of Service Brewing to Savannah, Georgia, R&D as a separate entity will soon move in and under Service Brewing to service that research and development arm. So we can be creative with a lot of different beers. We can still do the small batches. We can still use all the local ingredients we can. We can still partner with local farms and use what things that they have available to us to put into those beers. And it serves as a little test area, so as people come through and they want to tour and get tastes, there's a whole selection of beers that aren't available anywhere else, or at least not yet.
Right. I think that'll be a nice change of pace for the bigger style breweries that are doing simple things. I know a lot of a lot of breweries will do like what we call pilot series or very small batches or things that'll end up in their tasting rooms or in their brew pubs or whatnot that are small batches, stuff, interesting things you can try, and eventually you get good feedback on them. They go into bottling or kegging or larger production, which it sounds like service and R&D will be working hand in hand in producing a lot of these more interesting, more one-off, smaller craft style beers.
Yeah, as a novice brewer, allows me to take the back seat to the actual master brewer, who's severely more qualified than me and for a lot of people around here. So it gives him a place to experiment as well and
Sure.
Have fun with beers that aren't necessarily that big, large production level.
Yeah.
And we've, as we're working through this relocation of Service Brewing and the R&D build out, been meeting with folks around town. My girlfriend has been, the research arm. She's been out there talking to organic farmers in town, mushroom farmers who work with hydroponics. She's continued to raise her bees out behind the brewery, so they'll get some fresh grains to feed on today to see if they take to that. So that will help us bring those relationships and those ingredients. So now we know, what's been planted, when is it planted, when is it harvested. So how can that work into the season?
Very good. How are the hops doing? I know that it's been an experiment to see if they'll grow in this climate. Are they growing, or are they kind of stagnant, or?
Well, it's across the board. So the Cascade hops took off immediately. They grew very well, produced a lot of cones, but they've already passed their prime. The Centennial are now just starting to come on. Some of those bigger cones are showing up. The Willamette and the Fort Hood are just kind of chugging along. Right. So not sure if it's the humidity, not sure if it's the inordinate amount of rain that we've got this year. We've had a lot of rain. I know that, just talking to farmers, they say it's just, it's been a horrible year for them. It's either too little or too much, and this year it was too much rain. And when you're doing it organically, the grasses just pop up.
Well, you've done so much with the build out, and that's obviously the exciting part. Getting to see everything in person come to fruition, getting to use the equipment, getting to kind of feel out the space and really live in it for a little bit. But there's some behind the scenes things as well, some legal issues you're still having to go through in order to get licensing. How is all that process going for you?
Well, it's going okay. I've been trying to balance the time between R&D and service brewing is definitely getting more of my attention than R&D is. So I've been a little bit a part of the delay. It's just, I had to submit the zoning approval for the city, and I haven't heard back in 2 weeks. So I just haven't myself gotten down there to beat on them to see where is that paperwork. It's probably sitting on a stack somewhere. Right. Hasn't gotten to the next pile that it needs to get into for somebody to tell me that it's done. So we're working on that with the recent opening of Southbound Brewery in town and Coastal Empire announcing that they're going to be opening a local brewery here in town, and Service Brewing. People are starting to recognize that they're coming as well. There's been a lot of buzz around the tours and tasting ordinance. So, I know that I talked to the new director of the Department of Revenue for the city, and she's very supportive of trying to get Savannah to be as much like Georgia State as possible until the city starts to have policies or just develop policies in place. So, Coastal Empire, Southbound, and Service are going to be working together to try to help develop the ordinance for Savannah that we would appreciate and will be good for the town and the tourism. We're trying to work with the Savannah Economic Development Authority as well to get their backing on supporting the tours and tastings ordinance that's in place for Georgia. Put it in place for Savannah as well.
So the goal is to essentially take what's already set for the state and just implement it as it is at this point. Not trying to open up tasting rooms and bars. Just the simple tour glass, certain amount of pour allowed. Okay, that sounds great. I think it would be great for tourism. I mean,
somebody can do it in Marietta, or somebody can do it in Atlanta.
Exactly.
Why not Savannah?
It puts Savannah at a big disadvantage when you've got companies that want to come in and spend money and raise tax money for the city and do all those good things. They're looking at that when they're looking at where to place their brewery. So getting at least on par with the rest of the state makes sense.
And I think when folks start to see the tax revenue that the brewery will generate for the city, they'll recognize that it's something that's easy to support if it's already in place in the state.
Outstanding. So that about probably wraps up our visit this time around. We do plan to come back at least one more time to find out pretty much what the finished product might look like. Can you give us an idea of what to expect to have happen in the interim?
Yeah, I think it'll probably take 1 or 2 months to get through the licensing process at this point. I don't have to worry about coming down here and doing much more work on the space. That's going to take significant time. So I think the next visit you need to come down and see a licensed product being put into a keg, and hopefully by that time we'll have an ordinance that's under construction or authorization to do some kind of tour and tasting.
Great. So that means come down and drink.
Excellent. I like
Sounds
that.
good.
All right. Thanks for joining us this time on Brew, Drink, Run TV. Cheers.